We gotta go back, Marty.
Oh my god.
Back to the future.
Good lord.
Hey, we're back.
We are back,
Woo.
Oh,
and
was
I am
very
so
cringy.
I'm so happy we got to talk about this today.
What are we talking about, Daniel?
We're talking about arguably a top movie of all time. Well, mine personally, Back
Yeah.
to the Future.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those classics,
It
I'd
is
say.
damn
Yeah,
good
Bizarre
movie.
Adventures, Back to the Future.
Hmm
I'm not gonna lie. When you first said this, I thought, but after watching it, we're gonna get to it. It's a good movie.
It's a damn good
Yes.
movie.
Why did you not want to watch it the first time, Alex? Adam, what did you feel?
Because Back to the Future was one of those movies that teachers always put on when I was in elementary school, but then because you only have a period to watch it, we'd never get through it. So I've seen the first bit of the movie so many times that I just wanted to be like, no, let me get through this, and now we're in university, and do I really want to go back and watch? Like, that's the reason I won't watch The Lion King, because I've seen the beginning so many times that I'm just sick of the whole movie
I don't
without
even
fully
remember what
seeing.
The Lion King is about. I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't seen it in so long. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I'm probably not gonna see it for another while.
I
I
mean,
guess it's not making it to the segment then. I
It
guess.
won't be my bizarre adventure. Let's just say it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I hand this over to you, Daniel, since this is your Bizarre Adventures, I do have to open the show by saying this. I can see the Lego Batmobile box behind you, and is it fair to say you still haven't started building?
No, remember, you gotta have to be patient with me with certain interests. The shows, the Lego, I'm like a goalie. Remember I said that?
Yes.
You're like a goalie. I think you said Gollum. I'm like the Pokemon? Or are you...
No, I'm like a goalie. Yeah, you take me in the top, 15? But,
Top 15.
yeah.
Mate. I don't know about that. Early second round.
I don't know, man. Top 5, 2005.
That's why it took you so long to come on the podcast, Per. Because you're still developing those skills, right?
Yeah. I played in 3 consecutive World Juniors before I made it to the AHL.
A few rookie tournaments here and there.
Oh,
But hey, rough start, but he pulls it together and has a few weird pregame rituals. But anyway, how about you take us on this magical journey through time, Daniel?
All right, awesome. So, yes, this is what we've been talking about. I call this the golden gem of Universal Studios. This movie originally released in 1985 by one of my favorite directors, Robert Zemeckis. Writers Bob Gale and Zemeckis. And pretty funny thing, you know how we became friends through all of this stuff we're doing? They became friends like that, and they ended up working together. They actually had a radio show as well back in university. It was pretty cool.
So what
But
you're
there's-
saying?
it-
So what Daniel is trying to say is that we're gonna become writers and
Yeah,
make a movie.
Yes, low-key, this is a recruitment episode
Okay.
for my movie idea. So yeah,
Okay, I'm excited to hear what Daniel's movie idea is after the episode.
thank you. All right, so the basis.
Adam does not look impressed.
So like the basis of their.
If you want to see my reaction, go to the YouTube channel and check out the video
Oh
part.
my-
I love it.
Okay, continue.
All right, going back. So the basis of their idea for this movie was they wanted to know whether or not they would be friends with their parents in high school, which is pretty
Really?
interesting. You never
That's-
thought about that, right?
So how did that turn into Buddy's mom wants to smash him?
Yeah, that's one part where it would just kind of. It's pretty funny. So that idea when I got in there, because the first people they gave this script to was Disney. And Disney's like, yeah, so far so good. And then they got to that part, and they're like, wait a minute, you can't put this in a movie.
Yeah.
Wait, because you ever in Nightmare Before Christmas, you haven't seen it, Alex, but you have, Daniel, I'm guessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, after the opening scene of This Is Halloween, Jack's walking to the graveyard, and there's the little weird dude with the saxophone. He's like, "Good job, Bone Daddy," and you realize, wait, what? How did that get through the censors?
I know, right?
Same thing for the whole of how is the main thing of this movie, Marty and trying to avoid his mom wanting to have sex with him.
Yeah, that if you put it down to that, it is pretty weird. Funny jokes in there, like the whole dinner time thing when they get the TV for the first time. You know, that was a good reference to the jokes. Yeah, so that's, I don't know. Yeah, that's something that they actually had talked about in documentary, going like, yeah, you know, that was a weird thing that we kind of had to talk about. But you know, we're happy Universal Studios picked this up after Disney said we're not giving you any money for this idea.
Yeah. Yeah. No surprise. It's. I think my first impression of it, like within the first 10 minutes at least, was like, this is a very, you know, if we were watching this back in 1985, I think we would say, you know, this is a pretty normal movie. But you go back and look at it now, it just seems so cheesy.
Oh man,
I love it though. That's what I love.
I know.
That's what I love about it.
It's so good because it's so cheesy.
it had the same feeling at the beginning of the Mighty Ducks movie, where I thought, I don't know if I'm gonna like this movie.
Right.
But then it picks up and you're like, all right, no, it's pretty endearing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's such a, I'm realizing after fully watching it just how much this movie is referenced and memed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, like the beginning, like, Doc, are you telling me it's 8:25? I'm late for school. It's
I love that part, the power of love part, where the skateboard scene, like that, like for me, sets the mood for the movie.
yeah, man.
Yeah, it's so good.
Michael J. Fox, attaboy. What a performance.
Yes. Oh, funny point if I tell you about this, because like I tell you with this guy, like I told you guys before, like I'm like a super fan of this movie. I watched all the documentaries.
Yeah.
I had my Funko Pop here of Marty. You know, this is not available anymore.
Really?
Wow,
Yes.
Look at you.
I know, right? So it's pretty funny. So when this was written, Michael J. Fox was the first choice for Marty.
Yeah.
And he already felt like the character was written for him. But because of his... Do you guys know the show Family Ties?
No.
I know
Okay.
the show. I've never seen it.
Okay, so it was like a family sitcom, but they did it as a joke where they switched the roles of the parents and the kids. So the parents are used to be hippies in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
So they're more like the left-leaning type of people.
Yeah.
But the son, who is Michael J. Fox, he's like a pro-Ronald Reagan kid in the 1980s. So he's like so Republican.
Yeah.
It's a great show if you guys have a chance to do it. But that was his main, that was his main part of his career at the time. So they said like, no, this is not going to work. We can't put you in both the movie and the show. So they went with a guy named Eric Stoltz, who, you know, he has become like a pretty good character. If you guys remember Pulp Fiction, when Mia needs the adrenaline in her heart, that's Eric Stoltz, the guy.
Oh, okay.
The drug dealer guy, yeah. So he was actually the first Marty, which is weird. If you like, you can actually watch screen tests for it. It's really weird. But he didn't really bring the same type of humor. He was really stiff in these parts. So they fired him. And they're like, okay, yeah, it's either a yes or no thing. We have to have Michael J. Fox into this movie. He literally is Marty. Like, yeah, he was a skateboarder. He listened to the same music, dressed the same way. So what they did was Michael J. Fox would film Family Ties during the daytime, and he would do Back to the Future at night, and then he would sleep like 3 hours a day.
My God.
So like, if you actually note, like, it's actually not noticeable, but a lot of the parts when he goes back to the 50s, like the background scenes are actually filmed at night.
Yeah. Yes. Most of the scenes are at night. Now that you say it.
Yeah, the scene where he first goes back in time goes back at the end. I would assume that they shot the family scene, like the dinner scene with his younger, like his mom when she's younger. I'm guessing that was probably done at night. The whole dance is at night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they had to do it for him. So that's what kind of like made it great. And I guess aside from like these side notes I like saying, I don't know, I could talk about this forever, but like, I don't know, my favorite parts of it, like we talked about, entrenched in the 80s culture. I love it. You know, I know that I'm a bit older, but I did not live through the 80s, guys.
Really?
No, yeah, I know, right? I talk about seeing a young Doug Gilmore, but, you know, I was lying.
Tell me about the Dead Wings era, please.
Yeah, I don't know, I love it. I love that, to be honest, like, when I watched this when I was really little, it was before like I started watching a lot of 1950s movies, so this was actually my snapshot of what I thought the 1950s looked like. Like you said, Adam, the amount of memes that have been coming out, like there's so many great lines, so many great references to it. Like it is entrenched in our pop culture.
Yeah.
And I know the items I've been talking about, like I showed my Funko Pop, but the things that really got to me were Marty's Nike Bruin shoes. I know that was a very small detail, but like his red Nikes, if you try to look for like that pair, it's like $500, $600.
Really?
It's just it's so popular because of the movie.
Daniel, do you have the orange vest?
The orange. Oh, the life preserver? No, I don't. I wish I did.
I feel like that's something you would have.
Yeah.
Nice life preserver, Calvin McCline.
I love that.
So cheesy. There again, so cheesy.
I love that. What else? Yeah, the life preserver. What else? The DeLorean. I remember. Okay, so this is a funny story about the DeLorean. It was selling so badly its initial run. Like it was horrible.
Yeah.
Like the guy who created it was like in debt.
Yeah.
And then when the DeLorean came out in this movie, Doc Brown actually makes a tongue-in-cheek joke where he says, when you could travel through time, why not travel in style? And that was supposed to be an ironic, like, an ironic thing.
It was advertising.
Yeah, because it got advertised because of this movie. And this car is so expensive to get now.
Was it a replica?
Like, people are still maintaining, like, the ones from the 80s. Like, you could actually go and, like, find one.
I searched for them. I don't know if it's mint condition or whatever it is. It's used. I have one 1981, $49,000. There's a couple of ones for auction.
Yeah.
$47,000, $25,000, $39,000. Different prices.
Yeah. For an 80s car,
I mean, yeah, for an 80s car,
yeah.
that is a little more on the expensive side. Like unless you're looking at a more sporty type car, like a Mustang or a Camaro, something like that. Yeah, you'll see something like that. But just for a general car, I don't think you'd see something like that price.
We'll get one soon, guys.
Didn't Family Guy? No, it was American Dad. They have like a whole episode where Stan has like secretly been building he's been building one, right? And he's just missing like the second floor. And it's just like this whole thing. He goes on this action adventure thing with Steve to find it and all that. Like, man, I'm like, you really, I know what you said, but like, think of Family Guy and how many of those like older episodes had like just, I gotta tell you about the future. It is, even Futurama does a bit fun too. When, and like, but it goes a bit farther that episode if you guys remember it. But man. This movie is so. I didn't realize just how iconic it really is until I watched it and really seen it.
I like the scene. I mean, it's towards the end of the movie where he gets the guitar and he plays the '80s music for the guys in the '50s, and then when he starts, everyone loves it, and then he just goes absolute like rock and roll, and everyone's like, "What the hell are you playing?" And I absolutely love that scene. Because that's the music I listen to, so it's like damn, like to put it in the movie. There's like a couple movies that are like that, but a lot of movies aren't like that.
You're probably not ready for it, but your kids will love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that your favorite part, Alex?
I really like that scene.
Yeah,
because I play the guitar. I love rock music. It's just how you put those together.
What about you? That's awesome. What about you, Adam? What is your favorite part?
To be honest, it was so satisfying when Marty's dad punches Biff.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because after watching F1 and remembering how Pierre Gasly just wouldn't take the damn risk, it was just so satisfying to see Buddy just lay up. I mean, he was being a bit much when he pushed the dude dancing with Lorraine, but. I mean, it was still, I really like that. And when Marty's leaving, he's like, hey, if you have a kid and he's 8 years old and he burns the rug, go easy on him. I thought that was pretty funny. Cheesy, but very a bit too much of a heavy nod there, but it was still pretty. It's a very endearing movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, I don't know if you guys got the same impression too, but after watching the movie, you realize that it's more than just about Marty.
Mhm.
It for me, I found that it was about Marty, but it's also a lot about his dad. Like, there's so much focus on his dad throughout the entire movie. Literally, the movie starts with his dad, right? His dad, it starts with his dad being pushed around by, what's his name? Biff?
Biff.
Biff?
Yeah.
And then at the end, his life completely changes when he stands up to Biff. So I feel like it's more of a story about his dad than it is about Marty.
Yeah, it's funny. Like George McFly too. Like as I've gotten older, so what happens is, like I just thought of him like as a secondary character, but as I gotten older, you know, like that part where he's like a writer
Yeah.
and he doesn't want to like publish it or he doesn't want to do anything. Like I don't know, he's just so scared to do all this. And like what Adam said with Pierre Gasly, like I don't, it gets to you, especially us in journalism. Like no, like get your projects done.
Yeah.
Stop like second guessing yourself and just do it.
Exactly, for sure.
That's like something I kind of felt too. Interesting point that you put like towards how his life kind of changes. Okay, this is one thing people kind of take from it. Like now, I find like I'm reading a lot on, but it's something I don't really agree on. Is because it's a movie of the '80s, right? This is a time before like a really big recession towards the end of the '80s, and before like the boom of the '90s kids. So like this is when things are supposed to be like quote unquote good.
Those boomers,
Yeah, those boomers, the Reaganomics era.
Tweeting on their typewriters.
Yeah. So what happens is like it's supposed to be like that's the measure of success is like when they have the better house and all that stuff at the end, or like something I didn't realize as a kid was like, man, the licensing they had on so many products, like the only jeans that Marty wore were Levi's, and then how many times does he ask for like a Pepsi?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you go back to, like, I remember we watched a couple movies in an English class, and I don't remember why we watched these movies, but we pinpointed all the advertising in the movie. Like, there's so much advertising. Like, even now.
Jurassic World, presented by Mercedes.
Like, I think it's even worse now. Like, not even just in movies, but in sports. Like, you think about the NFL halftime shows presented by this, and then the instant replay presented by this. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Or in the NBA now, in between free throws, there's an ad.
This Gatorade free throw is brought to you by the free throw is brought to you by Gatorade. Leave me alone.
The GMC Player of the Game. The 31 Thoughts podcast presented by the new GMC Sierra Denali. Built for comfort.
I hear that so much.
Jeff Merrick's voice is just
it's all I think about. Sometimes, if I see an ad on TV for GMC, I think about 31 Thoughts. So you know what? They're doing their damn job.
Yeah. They make us want to buy a truck now.
No.
No. Sorry, Daniel.
So I knew how the movie ended because, you just know how these movies end. Remember, there was this YouTube channel I used to watch a ton called What Culture, right? They do a lot of, like, movie TV shows, right? Yeah. And one of the things was, top 10, like, kind of really, like, you don't realize how bad the ending is. And, like, without watching the other two movies, if you just look at the end of Back to the Future 1, Biff's family, so not Biff's family, Marty's family are going to be kind of strangers to him because he doesn't really know this style of them.
Right.
And then, like, high school, right? And he has, like, all this different, like at first you just look at his dad's life, how different is his actual life there?
Sorry. No. Yeah, you know what's funny for me is I notice, as you say that, you look and you notice how his family acts and how different he is to their family. But when his girlfriend comes, it's like the relationship hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if his life is so different, his interaction with his girlfriend hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, he's the only member of his family, someone whose personality has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense in a way, but it just seems really weird.
No, I don't want to nitpick your movie, Daniel. It's just something I thought when I'm like,
No,
hey,
I have another thing I want to nitpick about the movie, but I'll do it after.
Okay, no worries. Sorry, just thinking of like going back further along the ad idea. Sorry, I just thought of Wayne's World. Do you remember? Did you guys watch that movie?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember when he like brings up the pizza and then he brings he's wearing like Reeboks. Like it just reminded me of that. Where like they make fun of the ads.
The blatant advertisements. Oh yeah. The other thing I had an issue with in the movie, it's not a big issue. Like it doesn't. It seems like a little bit of a plot hole though. Is where the hell did Marty and the doctor meet? You're kind of just thrown into this relationship, and then you get to the end of the movie and you realize how close they are.
yeah,
Right? Like he's like, I need to tell you what happened, but you weren't really given any context about their relationship at all.
yeah.
I have a pretty funny thing about that. So, I guess like people just didn't think of it in the 80s, but like they assumed that Doc Brown and Marty were just good friends to begin with. And then people never questioned why is this older guy hanging out with like this high school student. So it's funny because you know Dan Harmon, the writer for Community.
Yes.
So when he did Rick and Morty, because Rick and Morty is supposed to be kind of like a spoof on Back to the Future.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens is when he was writing it, he's like, no one questioned that in the 80s, but now if I do that, like, yeah, an old guy's just friends with a high school student, you're going to be like, yeah, what's the matter with you? So he had to make sure that Rick was the grandpa of Morty.
Yeah.
So the series would work.
It's not that I thought it was, like, my first impression wasn't necessarily it was weird. It's just like, man, like, that seems like a plot hole in the movie, and like, okay, where did the relationship come from? Yeah, it's a little bit odd that an older man like him and a 17-year-old were friends, but where did it come from? Because you even hear when he's at school, so you need to stop hanging out with that doctor.
Yeah.
So what is it? Where is this idea come from? I don't know if I haven't seen the other movies, but maybe do they explore that in other movies?
To be honest, not really. They just assume that they're close, tight-knit guys, and they just go on these adventures.
That's the biggest plot hole in the Back to the Future franchise. Okay?
It's there's only one answer I have for that, and it's movie magic.
Because the plot demands it. Aside from that, I love the Doctor's character.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He's kind of like the weird witch doctor back in the day. I like when he's like, I invented something that worked. I'm like, wait, what? First of all, Marty, you've been hanging around this guy. He's basically, that's probably why they're like, you stay away from that man, because he's the crazy scientist. He probably looks like, people in the town are probably like, he's the basis for Breaking Bad, is all I'll say.
Yeah, it just seems like they're conflicting. It feels like they're conflicting personalities, though, right? Like he's the cool guy, and he's the nerd.
He's Skater.
What?
Skater boy. I'll see you. Skater boy.
Yeah,
he's bridging the rifts.
He's the skater boy, and the doctor is the crazy scientist. It just doesn't seem like they fit.
Well, opposites attract. It's like us. We're insane, and Daniel's very level-headed, and that's why we love each other so much.
I think it's just like, that's what I like about Marty is I don't know. It's just like he was like the typical high school guy, but he didn't have the brawn. Like Michael J. Fox is a pretty tiny guy, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like Marty had like that confident, tough attitude to him, but like what I liked about him with balancing with Doc Brown was like he was open to like new ideas. That he was kind of open to the adventure. He knew how to he did freak out, but he knew how to deal with it. He was interested in what everything was going on, like the big speaker or all this stuff.
I just saw a dog disappear for a minute.
Yeah,
it felt like he had two different personalities.
Yeah,
it felt like when he was at school, he had the cool personality, the Mr. Cool guy, and then when he was with the doc, he's like, oh, like I'm going to try something completely. I'm going to try something new. It was very. It felt like they were just completely. They're just different personalities.
I think like I don't know about you guys, but in high school I probably tried to act a bit. I mean, not successfully, but tried to act a little cooler than I actually was in front of some of the guys and that. And then at home, it's like, you're gonna play some Lego Star Wars. Let's go. So it adds to just how lovable Marty is as a character, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
It felt at the beginning of the movie. I don't know how. I didn't feel like Marty was going to be that lovable because he just felt like he was going to be a jerk. I'm not going to lie. Because, right, the first impression you get of Marty is, oh, he's this cool skater, guitar-playing 80s kid. And then you just kind of associate that with being a jerk. But then that's not what ends up happening.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a jerk a little bit.
Yeah, he's a bit irrational, but, it's okay. I don't know. Like, looking back to Adam's point, where I think when I was a kid, I'm like, man, I wish I was like Marty when I was in high school, but I'm not gonna lie, I was nerdy all 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, school and at home.
Oh, man, it's like, do you know how many of my friends in high school I told I was a massive anime fan? Like, one of them, because they were also massive anime fans. Even people in university, I'm like, I didn't go to Alex and Daniel and then be like, yo, guys, Naruto, let's go. And
but then you told me you listened to, it was just, you figured it out. You told me that you listened to, you're like, what are you listening to? And then I told you, I think I was listening to Queen. And I go, what are you listening to? He goes, oh, some Japanese music. I go, okay, I wonder, I'm just guessing he watches anime. Yeah. Not that it was a bad thing, it's just...
It was just a subtle thing. I remember in class you'd have you're like, I'm going to read this on the train back to Pickering this weekend or something. That's what I remember.
No, but you'd hear his music. He'd have the music to the loudest volume possible.
You
couldn't pinpoint what the words were, but you could just tell that it was a different language.
It wasn't English.
It wasn't English.
See, it's a beautiful thing that we all met up at Ryerson. See, Ryerson shows that we could be ourselves, We could be the Marty we always wanted to be.
And that's why you should go to UT. Because acceptable.
Is this advertising? Is that what you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, I'm actually adding subtle advertisements.
Well, I just happen to be wearing my Ryerson sweater. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Wow. We should, check out the website for enrollment details.
Wow, we're just going all in on the advertisements here. Okay, next episode I'm gonna bring a can of Coke, though we're not sponsored by Coke.
Presented by Lego. God,
well, I do. I see the logo in Daniel's background, so.
It is very there, yeah.
Yeah, I put us there as an inspiration to you guys. Also because the box is so big.
Wait. Inspiration to us. Adam and I finished our Legos.
Hey, I spent so much money all summer on since this quarantine.
All right, without veering off too much for the movie, it's just the set is so big that I'm like, I probably should have bought a smaller one too, just to get used to it again. Because I haven't bought Lego in 15 years. Do
you sleep with it because it's on your bed?
No, I just move it because it's on my podcast chair on my desk. But because it's actually so big, and also I don't want to damage the box, so I always put it here or there.
So nice of you.
Yeah, I'll build it soon.
So the movie we were talking about.
Oh yes,
the movie. Yes, Back to the Future. Yeah, man, it's weird, again, I wasn't around for a while in 1985, but what I kind of felt with it were, so many things that, you hear a lot of people talk about, especially when they're a lot older than us, why this movie's so special to them. But for me, I didn't think, I'm already naturally a nostalgic guy, but, the things in this movie, man, the Nikes, the Pepsi, the Levi's, okay, so one thing's pretty funny. So I always wanted to learn how to drive manual because Marty has to shift into sixth gear to hit 88 miles per hour to travel in time. I remember, like, since I was a kid, I'm like, oh, I have to learn how to do that. But like, I think I know a bit of it how to do that, but like, not the best. But like, there's just things that I don't know. This is a movie where I don't have necessarily a favorite movie, but this is a movie that I will probably revisit like at least twice a year.
I can only imagine how it's like to audiences back then, because we talk about Star Wars a lot, and I just quick looked up all the dates of the original trilogy. Episode 6 came out in 83. Mm-hmm. So you've just had this series of, like, it's a pretty serious, in general, the original trilogy and all this. Got your sci-fi now. All of a sudden, you see even here the Darth Vader reference in Back to the Future when he's going out when Marty's like messing with his dad.
That was great.
So, yeah, well, I am Darth Vader, and he gets the music. But anyway,
the planet Vulcan.
Yeah, but you got it. Like, I just wonder what it'd be like from audiences to see like the more sci-fi kind of genre, but like a lot more lighthearted, coming 2 years away from Episode 6 of Star Wars. It's and not to mention, it's time travel that isn't super complicated, which I love. Which is
it's not super complicated.
Because anytime I hear time travel, I'm like, oh no. There's going to be like some multiverse stuff. They're going to end up in an alternative. You know that episode of Family Guy where at the end of the time traveling and there's like 80 different Stewies and Brians?
Yes.
Stop it. Or it ends up they go into like the dystopian future and that, and I hate that stuff in fiction too. And it's just, and even in Endgame, they broke the fourth wall and said, hey, time travel. Don't worry about it. And it's like, what? But I what? And in Back to the Future, it's kind of like, it's easy, guys. We're okay. Don't worry about it. It's still like they make sure to be like, hey, Marty, don't kiss your mom. All right? You gotta make sure these things still get set in motion, but it's not too complicated. All right? It's not terrible.
Yeah, and then he stopped his dad from getting hit. Yeah.
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 Despite the voyeurism.
It's a fun movie.
When I was a kid, I'm like, what's a peeping Tom?
Yeah. Hey, Lorraine, another kid fell from the tree. Like, what? This is a common thing?
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's pretty interesting you bring up that whole thing with like Star Wars. So another motivation they had for this movie was they felt that sci-fi was becoming too serious towards the 80s, especially for like the success of Star Wars, that it was kind of like delving into like maybe like the more like adult, I mean this is kind of an adult movie, but like a more like adult audience, that it wasn't as lighthearted anymore. And a big theme too is like, like movies like Friday the 13th, like, a lot of those were type of like teenage, it was great. Like it was like teenage slasher movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other type of movies were like, teenagers that just, basically wanted to have sex.
Those are those are another set of movies that are absolutely cringy, but they're so good. Like if you go back, like, and watch the very first Halloween, the original Friday the 13th, the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Sorry. The characters, like the people being chased, do the cringiest things.
Yeah.
Like, don't go in there. That's the worst idea possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's
original. Open that closet.
Yeah, and like you even see it now. I think now I don't remember the name of the movie. It might have been Insidious. Do you know the movie Insidious?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, this was a haunted. Like, someone died in here. No, I'm not living in that house. That's the answer. The movie could have been 20 minutes long as you didn't live in that house.
Yeah.
I don't mean to change the subject. Do you guys want to hear a story about the Insidious series?
All right.
Yeah, I love that series.
So Insidious Part 2, I think it was. So going to see Insidious 2 was my first ever date.
Wait, you went to go see Insidious 2 in theaters?
Yes.
Good for you. I've seen one horror movie in theater, and it scarred me. Like I love watching horror movies. It was just absolutely insane.
You might want to hold back your praise for me because it doesn't get much better. Anyway, so this is the first date I ever went on, right? At first, it was a complete joke because it was a triple date with two other couples. And one of the guys was late, so we couldn't get a ticket.
Wow, these guys being late. Well, what's the matter with these people?
Yeah, Daniel. Anyway, so like I'm going with my buddy who moved to Vancouver, his girlfriend, the girl I was seeing at the time, and then like my best friend's twin sister, not identical, but like his sister as well, right? And we're going to see Insidious Part 2. And first of all, we're late getting there because we're waiting for our buddy. So there's like no seat except for the first freaking row.
Oh God,
it's terrible. I think this is in grade 9 too. And so we're there, and like I am such a scaredy cat. Like I can't even look at the movie. Half the time I'm so scared. And this is the worst part. This is the worst part. Like first of all, like this girl I was seeing, like lovely girl. She was really, really nice, right? But like we were only together because like the others were kind of like, hey, you guys should, and we're like, hey, whatever, right? She's a really, really nice girl. But like the stupidest thing I've ever done. Like halfway through, I stopped sitting with her and I went to sit with my best friend's sister because we were both scared. And oh my god, I'm such an idiot.
So cringy.
Oh my, yeah, I just thought you'd like to know that. That is, I'm like, I can't.
I might take back my good for you.
You should. You should. I was so scared. Man, I don't even remember what happened. I know someone clapped when a woman came. Someone probably died, but it was just.
Wait, which one did you see? The second one?
Yeah.
Okay, I sent a text out. I want to find out what movie I went to go watch when I was in high school. So I'm gonna find out.
I have like
Conjuring. Conjuring. You know the Conjuring, the second one, the second one with the nun. That my friend's like, he goes, "That's the one that screwed me up."
I've watched like I don't know why I'm really bad with horror too, but I think it's just when I have that curiosity, I'll end up watching it. Like I remember, this is a funny story where I know we're going so off in the Back to the Future right now, but
how did we get here?
I remember like I didn't really know Adam that well at the time, and then he's like, "Yeah, I love the Halloween series."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, cool, man!" And I ended up just watching the movie by myself. I think like on a random day.
I went to go watch the newest one that came out.
Yeah,
by myself in theaters.
Yeah, so we did the same thing.
So good.
Then the music gets to you. It's really good.
You could like best score in horror.
And in theaters, it just like surrounds you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
That was great.
What the?
All right, sorry, just one point I remember.
Wow,
just,
I don't know how we got here.
Related to the Back to the Future part where I said like...
Let's go back, yeah.
So, yeah, we're going back to the future. Okay. So the part I said about like horror movies, like slashers, and like teenagers basically wanting to have sex, that was like the norm of teenager movies at the time.
Right.
So that's why Robert Zemeckis like, we have to do something different. Let's do a time travel sci-fi movie, but like an accurate portrayal of what a teenager would think about in this situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Different was a good word to use for what happened.
Yeah. Man, you also talk about like getting away from the serious stuff. The first thing I thought of when you said sci-fi getting too serious, I thought of Aliens, and came out in 1979. So like another great example of, hey, let's just draw this back a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god. Man, I also loved, by the way, Marty's dad's hair.
When he goes like,
at the beginning of the movie, he was my favorite character because he was so cheesy at the beginning with Biff. That he's like, man, that's my guy. That's the guy I'm rooting for the entire movie.
Well, I told you, McFly, I need time to copy it because it doesn't look good if I hand in my report with your handwriting. Hey, McFly, your shoes are in that bar.
One thing I didn't I didn't get the joke until I got older was when Biff's like, I can't believe you gave me a car with a blind spot.
Yeah.
Did he? Oh,
and he's like, when I hit the other car, I spilled my beer on my lap when he was driving.
I bring your car to me and you only have a light beer for me, McFly? Just terrible.
Or that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just such quirky people, but I love every single character.
Oh yeah,
in it. Yeah, like it's so good.
man! Shout out to how Biff like legitimately is about to try. And no, sorry. I thought until like you know how he's like I'm gonna ram him, right? I didn't see that like the hole was so like the what was it, manure or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that it was open, so I thought is he about to try and kill Marty? But like luckily he's only trying to put it into like the thing manure. But for a second I
Oh,
legitimately
I thought he was trying to kill him.
yeah, I was thinking it's like vehicular homicide. Is that what you call it? Is about to take place.
The 50s were a different time.
Yes,
And,
very.
well, he drove on like on a park with his car. He crashed into a thing full of crap, and it's like nothing happened.
Yeah. Where is local law enforcement?
Movie magic.
What was he standing in front of? Was he not standing in front of like City Hall? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
the clock tower.
if you go to City Hall in Toronto now, there is police there.
Was it like something did happen there? The guy was spray painting the statues. I remember that at City Hall.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah.
Old City Hall.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about, right, how many people do you think tried to emulate what Marty did with his skateboard and holding onto the back of a car?
I saw it the other week. I saw it literally on my street last week.
Huh.
They tied something to the back of the car, and like a string to the back of the car, like the skidoo. Not the skidoo. It's on the water. You can go water gliding or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're on the skateboard, holding on to something, and the car's just driving,
Oh my God.
literally on my street.
The legacy lives on of this movie.
The legacy lives, ladies and gentlemen. Marty McFly has something influenced a generation.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so I guess my final thoughts on this is I love this movie. It hits into my nostalgia like crazy. It's something it's my feel good movie. I remember like every time I was done exams or something, I'd watch this movie. It's something that I think is going to continue to inspire me with wanting to kind of delve back into 80s culture or all this kind of stuff, or like just love this stuff you love for pop culture, just like for the sake of it. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It had everything in the movie. I think the music, the clothes, the lines,
For
Romance.
the atmosphere, romance, the atmosphere.
For sure. It was, I said at the beginning it's very cheesy, but I think if you think about when it was made, it makes sense. Like a lot of those movies were cheesy for us, even cheesy back then, but I guess cheesy was more, not acceptable, but cheesy was more the thing. Like, oh, we're just going to literally just make the weirdest jokes at a weird time.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the 80s.
Yeah.
It's a good break from like, I don't know, movies that try to like show themselves to be too intense, or sometimes I find with comedies now where it's just too structured.
Oh,
Yeah.
comedies now are not the same. I
Yeah.
think we've had this discussion before, maybe. I'm not sure. But comedies now are not the same. Even if you go back not even 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just completely different. Like, you go the early 2000s, or even going to, like, 2012, around then, just completely different. Even, like, I was having a discussion, we were talking last night with my friends, and we were talking about The Office, and we were talking about this one particular scene. And you know the scene, I don't remember what season it's in, but it's with William M. Buttlicker.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, Dwight yells, "Buttlicker, our prices have never been lower." And and we're like, man, like this show would not survive today
No.
because like just everyone's standards are so different.
Yeah. I just thought it was like, Dwight, don't yell at the customer.
Don't yell at the customer. Put me on with your manager.
We talked about Tropic Thunder a few
Yes.
A few
like
episodes
yeah,
ago.
you couldn't like you
So
could not do. I think
That's such
he
a
said
funny movie.
Robert Downey Jr. was on Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
and he said, "Yeah, I can't do blackface now."
He's like, no way I could make a movie like that now. He's like, even at the time, it was like iffy.
I remember like Ben Stiller said that like when he directed that movie, he did it as a satire, but like no one believed him. They're like, "What are you doing?"
Yes,
man?
yes,
Like
yes.
he's supposed to do it as like to expose like this is Hollywood's double standard. But like people were like, "Oh, you're just following it. What are you doing?"
Here's a dramatic scene of Robert Downey with like intense music and everything of him taking off blackface.
Yeah.
I could not believe it when I was younger.
It's
Like,
such a hilarious movie.
Yeah. Are we good then? Is that everything when it comes back to the future?
One more thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch 2 and 3, guys. You'll love it. It's even cheesier, but it's so endearing. If you like the first one, you'll love it.
I will watch Back to the Future once I am finished Star Wars Clone Wars, okay?
All right.
And I'm
Me
caught
too.
up with my podcasts.
Clone Wars. I guess though, before we go, I feel like we should just let the listeners know what we're doing for the rest of May. We've got 3 more shows after this: the 24th, the 27th, and the 31st. On the 24th, we're going to be looking at this summer's UFAs. It's an interesting list. Alex Petrangelo is, of course, headlining all those guys. We're going to look at RFAs 2.
Oh, yeah. Some of them.
Only a few. Yeah, like Barzell and Domi are probably going to be the top of there as well. On the 27th, it's another edition of Bizarre Adventures, and it is my turn to choose. And we are looking at Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
It's official.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few options on the table. There was Solo, there was Nightmare Before Christmas, but we will be looking at Star Wars Episode 3. One that I think each of us have a different place in our heart for that movie, and we're gonna talk about it as a movie as itself, and probably as a Star Wars movie, and probably a biased and an unbiased look at it, because it is a movie with a lot of issues.
Which
finish
one?
off-
Episode 3?
Yeah.
I saw, it's funny you say that quickly. I saw an article yesterday, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where I got it, but it said that Star Wars Episode 3 is the most underrated Star Wars movie and could possibly be the best Star Wars movie. I think it's underrated. I don't think it's the best.
Same here. I like it a lot.
Well, we will continue that debate on the 27th of May.
Yeah.
And then we'll finish off on the 31st looking at, oh my god, it's another redraft! 2003! Woohoo!
The hardest one, I think.
Sounds so excited.
Man, I feel about redrafts the way Steve Dangle does about the 2014 playoffs.
How about extended trade deadline?
I actually liked that idea.
Have you seen the episode?
I've seen. Let me just double check how far I am in it.
Okay. Before we go, have you guys seen the Akeem Alou story?
Oh, yeah.
He wrote, I think, in the Players Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are complaining about it.
Are they?
Well, they're just like, I don't know. It's very weird. Like, there's 2 things that it's just been like, man, like he's making a point.
Mm-hmm.
Just cut it out.
I think no matter what, it's always going to get that, I think, this topic.
Well, you know what the other thing is? We had such a good thing happen today, or yesterday, right? I reposted it on Instagram. So Joe Rogan signs a $100 million deal with Spotify to put all his podcasts, I think starting in like September. And the first thing I see about it is, artists get paid. It's a very small amount. I understand it's an issue, but it's like, artists get paid this amount of money per stream, and you value Joe Rogan at $100 million. Is that fair? I don't know if it's fair, but be happy for the guy. Like, I feel like there's so much, for me, whenever something bad comes out, and I'm guilty of this too, I'm absolutely guilty of this too, is that we always just look at the negative. And I'll give a sports example. Let's use the Leafs. I'll use the Leafs. So, Leafs signed Mikko Lehtonen out of Russia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Defenseman.
Number one. Everyone is like, this guy could completely fail. Okay, how about this guy could actually play in the NHL? Why is the first thing you think of that? Or Mikko Lehtonen signs out of Russia. oh, Kyle Dubas signs another small guy. How about Kyle Dubas signs the KHL Defenseman of the Year? How about that? Or, like, Travis Dermott's going to be traded. Why everything has to be so negative? That's my spiel for today's episode.
I would say another good example of that is and I think I told you guys this. I think it was before we started the episode. I was listening to a few of our older episodes, especially before the trade deadline, and of course the first segment of that episode, or it's a pair of episodes, was us talking about David Harris, and it was. I remember that day. It was the same night Ovechkin hit 700 goals.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the story of a Carolina Hurricanes emergency backup goalie does an amazing thing. It wasn't that Alex Ovechkin hit 700 goals. It was the negativity and everyone laughing about the Leafs losing.
Yeah.
And it's, again, because it's Toronto, and it sucks that it's always the negativity that just kind of it's, for example, Steve Dangle's "Dang It's" always get more views in his hat picks. Or he talks about it. He's like, why? The negativity.
Well, we love negativity.
People love to complain.
Right.
I love it.
I complained before this episode. I literally was complaining about the Ottawa Senators before this episode.
Yeah. Daniel, do you complain? I don't think I've ever
heard Daniel complain in my life.
I think, yeah, you had to apologize to your internet today for restarting it because you felt bad.
Yeah, I complain, like, here and there, certain things, but, when it comes to sports, I don't know. I used to, but I don't know. I find, like, I don't too much anymore. I just kind of like, okay, let me read on this and know as much as I can about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I maybe it's a fear. It's a journalism fear that someone's gonna call you out for not knowing, like you
right.
missed out on something. Yeah.
You know what? You know what the thing is? I guess for me, now that I'm thinking about what I just said, is that it's not necessarily okay. Like Mikko Lehtonen signs and he's not gonna play in the NHL. Like, that's a possibility. But to say Mikko Lehtonen signs and then completely trash Kyle Dubas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like, why? You haven't even seen the guy step on NHL ice. He literally just won KHL Defenseman of the Year. Mm-hmm. And your first instinct is to hop on Kyle Dubas. Like, I get a lot of the things we say are negative. Like, when we look at a trade, okay. Like, it's hard to do in sports because we hop on so many things, and I feel like that's what we're supposed to do sometimes. But, like look at the Akeem Alou situation. Like, man, like, he's stating a legitimate point. If you want to complain about it, fine, but I don't see the value in complaining about it. When Joe Rogan signs $100 million, which I don't remember the last time a podcast got anywhere close to that money. I don't know what, like, yes, I get it's unfair that artists don't get paid. Like, that's not the issue I have, though. The issue I have is the first thing you say is comparing the two. Like, I don't see why you can't be happy for Joe Rogan and have that issue.
I will gladly take 1% of what Joe Rogan makes.
Yeah, it's like, it's always this but this. Why can't it be this and this? That's the issue.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my second spiel of the episode. Thank you very much.
We're advocating love for it all. Be positive, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know how people can share positivity?
By listening to the podcast.
And if you want to show your love for the 2-on-1 podcast, here's what you should do. If you're listening to this on Spotify or on iTunes, all those lovely sites, or even on the YouTube, we got to get the YouTube numbers up. If you can leave it a like or a follow, whatever you do on that certain site, you should do it. Leave a review. Let us know, what do you love most about Back to the Future. You just go and tell somebody that you know that you love them. Be happy. Look out your window and see that the dandelions are starting to be like, you know what? I know they're a terrible weed, but I love the color.
And while you're telling them that you love them, show them the podcast. Say, hey, listen to the 2-on-1 podcast. It's a hockey podcast.
The new standard in sports podcasting.
And even if you don't like podcasts, God, you better love podcasts. Even if you don't like hockey, we talk about other things.
Yeah,
like today.
We showed that today.
You know, we talked about what did we talk about last week? We talked about Formula One. Okay.
How about this? If there's something specific you want us to talk about, well, let us know.
Yes, we'll do it.
We'll do it.
Waiting for somebody to tell us to watch something.
We watch anything. We've watched anime to sports documentaries to 1980s comedies. We're gonna watch Star Wars next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe some Disney stuff later on, like Nightmare Before Christmas. Eventually, I'm sure Daniel will have some sort of beloved thing. Alex will continue to broaden our horizons away from hockey, and then maybe more F1, more baseball. Who knows? It's just we are like a box of chocolates on this podcast. You never know what you're gonna get.
Damn.
Yeah, we never.
Was a great reference.
Maybe we'll watch Forrest Gump. We don't know.
Exactly. You never know.
I've always wanted to watch Forrest Gump.
I haven't.
All right.
Have you seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah, I have to. I watched that movie what? At least 3 times a year, and I don't even own it because it's just always on TV.
I haven't seen Forrest Gump.
All right, that has to be an idea. We have to kind of pocket that one.
We'll throw it into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
The Power Hour mix introduction movies of love.
Okay.
Titles are.
Have a great day. Make sure you like and subscribe. Adam, before we go, where's this video?
It's coming.
It's coming.
We're waiting, man. Yeah.
It's
Don't
coming.
worry. It's on its way.
Just like the Mark Bergevin trade at the draft. It's coming.
We just had to talk about positivity, and you just had.
I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm a hypocrite. What can I say?
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, bye.
Bye.